Well, hello, everybody, and happy July 1st. I'm Tom. I'm a recovered alcoholic addict, and welcome to Recovery Live, our weekly Friday live stream where we talk everything recovery. We have a wonderful guest today, Jessie Blanchard, who's going to be joining us again. She was with us a couple of months ago. We're going to have a great discussion on shame and stigma and all surrounding addiction. Before we go, though, I have a couple announcements. I'm just back from a retreat in Missouri, St. Joe, Missouri, which was a great success. We took a team down. Alicia came and Dale Barker came with me, and Carrie and Mike came with us from Indiana, and we seeded a new retreat. And as a result of that, if the retreat, they're going to start a brand new meeting. We're going to start it on Zoom, guys. So you'll know, check out our website. We'd love anybody to join and help support the meeting. It's going to be Thursday nights at 7 Central. So that's 5 Pacific and 8 Eastern. So we're going to start it with Zoom, get some of their local leaders up to speed, and then they're going to go hybrid, I think, where they're going to do it on ground and on Zoom. Great need there in St. Joe's, as we find everywhere, to bring this life-saving message to the community of St. Joe, Missouri. One of the quietest places I've ever been to. It's like no traffic. I want to say hello to a few of our guests this morning. Doc Roth, he's here with us early today. Hi, Doc. How are you today? Jamie Wade is from Wisconsin. Jamie West from Wisconsin, new to being clean. Oh, very good. Taryn Price joining us from the Mojave Desert. As usual, Taryn. I'll be seeing Taryn in another week and a half, I guess, when we do the Prescott retreat, which is going to be wonderful. And then we'll be looking at doing Indiana, brand new, and then back out to California this at the end of the summer. So great things going on with us, guys. We're moving forward. We even talked about having another virtual retreat. But we'll see. I love July, guys. This is my favorite month of the year. Really, the end of June, early July. I love 4th of July. Is my very, very favorite holiday. If you know me at all, you know that it is my favorite holiday. And so this is going to be a great weekend. Hopefully, maybe see some fireworks, hang out at the pool, and just enjoy the weather, which is very nice where I am right now. So without further ado, I would like to introduce and bring onto the show Jessie Blanchard, and she's coming to us from Atlanta, Georgia. Hi, Jessie.
Hi. Actually, I'm in Albany, Georgia.
I knew you were going to say that. As soon as I said it's not actually Atlanta, but it's near there, right?
About 2.5 hours south.
So not near there.
I'm not quite an hour north of Florida, and I'm not quite an hour east of Alabama.
Well, there we go. But she's in the South, if you guys can't tell from her accent. She doesn't say coffee like we do up in the Northeast. But
coffee?
Coffee. See, it's a little different. Yeah, it's a little different. Coffee. There you go.
Coffee.
See, if Dee comes on from the England, she can't get it. It's been years she's been trying to get it, and you got it in one try. Mm-hmm. It's awesome. Hey, I want to just say hello to a few more people who are joining us. This is awesome. Karina Stevens from Idaho. We have Idaho with us today. We have Wisconsin with us today. We have Vegas with us already today. We have Mojave Desert. We have California with us today. So we got a lot showing up today, Jessie. The people want to come on and see. It must be you. They knew you were coming. So they're coming from all over the country.
It's a long weekend. They're just resting, taking it easy. I'm like, oh, let's do this. It's you. It's not me. It's you.
It's you. So Jessie, as we're getting rolling here, why don't you kind of give us your resume, give us an overview of what you do and who you are, and what's your passion, so that our audience knows who you are.
All right. Well, thank you. First off, thank y'all for having me back. I can't believe you'd have me back after the last time. It was good. No, I loved being here. I'm Jessie Blanchard. I am in Southwest Georgia, as we've established, Dougherty County. I am a nurse. I think this is my 22nd or 23rd year being a registered nurse, mostly in the ER and correctional facility. I am a mama and I'm a wife, and I have the most beautiful baby girl who's 22. Her name's KB, and she is still battling substance use disorder on the streets of our town. Her choice. So my passion started out keeping her alive, because we know dead people can't do anything, much less recover. And she was having overdoses, drug poisonings, a lot of them, and 3 of them were bad. So in my effort to help her stay alive, I started getting Narcan, and then things just grew and grew and grew. And now I'm the founder of a whole organization, 229 Safer Living Access. I'm the only harm reduction organization south of Atlanta in the state of Georgia.
Well, talk to us a little bit about harm reduction for those that, it's gotten to be quite a known subject around now. And we've been talking about it more and more on here. But just for those that aren't, the big thing, what is harm reduction and what's it all about?
So harm reduction is a big buzzword. It's heard all around, and it means different things to different people, different organizations. For some people, harm reduction is Narcan. Narcan is harm reduction because I just said dead people can't make any changes to their life. For some people, it's safer use supplies. There's sex workers, people who are sex workers need things to stay safer in their job. So there's that kind of harm reduction. Harm reduction is your seatbelt, your mask, your helmet when you're riding a motorcycle. When we knowingly do things that could cause us harm, but we're going to do them anyway, how do we reduce that harm? We know people are going to use substances until they are ready to change. I try to stand in the gap. People are where they are. If they eventually want to get to abstinence, what about that middle ground? What happens in the middle before they're really in a place to where they're ready, when they're tapping out? That's me. That's harm reduction.
So, Jessie, I remember the line. I'm so glad that you said that, because as you were talking about what harm reduction, and I'm like, last time she said something that really makes sense to me, and it's the seatbelt thing.
Yeah.
Seatbelt, have that analogy, and I think people can really relate to that. That seatbelt is a car is a hugely dangerous thing that we do, and you put a seatbelt on, and it drastically reduces the risk. I know that Casera was talking to us about, when she would go into Patterson, and there's, this big issue with them giving needles to the addict. And there's a whole line of thinking that says, no, we can't help them, enable them. But she would say, if they're not ready, and but they have to have the drugs that night because they're addicted, or they'll maybe go into withdrawals or something and seize. If we give them a needle and it's clean, and so they can be disease-free, and it's the next day that they decide that they've had enough, at least they're alive to make that decision.
The needles and things like that, those things are so important, because when they do decide I've had enough, if they're so sick with HIV or hepatitis, or they've given themselves such terrible, endocarditis, heart infection, that they're looking at heart surgeries and valve replacements. Sometimes, I've known people who have said, why bother now? I've already killed myself. The horse is out of the barn. I might as well continue this path. Until you've sat and watched somebody who's so sick wash a needle out with bleach and sharpen it on a brick on the side of a building to try to use it, you don't really get that. But also what you said too, it might be that next day. And when that next day comes, because someone like me's been consistently going in the community without judgment, without shame,
Mm.
without preaching, and just showing up for them, that when that next day does come, if it does, and they're thinking, all right, I'm ready to get off the merry-go-round, but I don't know who's going to hold my hand to step off. They think, what about that white lady that brings the needles? But then they find me, they call me, and they say, or the next time I go out, they come up and they're like, no, I don't want a bag. I think I want some help.
And, Jessie, that's great. Then that's where we come in. And as much as there's an element of, in religious communities and the spiritual community that would be against some of the stuff that you're doing, we want to partner with you and have people like you on, because when they come to you and say, I'm ready, we want to be one of the options. We'd love you to say, well, you can go to rehab, or you can go to this, or you can go to this. But there's also this group called Came to Believe, who does the 12 steps the way the founders did it. And people are finding great relief there. And that's our mission to end addiction. Our mission, my mission, is to just be everywhere we can be.
That's right.
To complete the mission of reaching out to the least, the last, and the lost. And you reach the least, the last. These people they're not even ready yet. So we've got to be there when they're ready. It's radical grace, really, from our perspective.
And the whole time that I'm out there, if someone says to me, I'm thinking about, and I go on and I say, hey, I've got this buddy Tom, can't wait for you to meet him. He's so solid. Got these folks that came to believe. I'm hyping it up the whole time. I'm like, let me know. I got a homie. Gonna love him. And then when they're ready, they'll come to me and they'll be like, what was that guy's name, Tom? I'm like, yes.
If we haven't made those connections, Jessie, that you're doing, and we've kept that line separate, which is you got to do something before I'm going to help you, we miss that opportunity, the one that you're creating. We really, really do.
But that's okay. I couldn't do what you're doing, Tom. I can do one thing real good. I can mess up two things like nobody's business. I feel like this is my lane. This is what I do real well. Getting out there in the ditches with people. That's literally what I do. The dishes, the bushes, the tents, the encampments, the hotels that have no running water. And when they're ready, I'm standing there holding a flashlight, shining it at you. Shining it. That's it.
We got, as you guys know, Lisa's in the background today, as usual, our master of ceremony, and she'll run our #recovered giveaway of our t-shirt. I see some of you have already put your #recovered in for our t-shirt giveaway. See, we give it to you. It's gotten to be quite a thing, Jessie. They come on and just put #recovered in the comments because they get entered into a contest to win a shirt. It's awesome. Tim Doyle has shown up today. Hi, Tim. How are you? We were just in Missouri doing a retreat, and Tim was doing a funeral today. Tim's a pastor in a church, and his church has been quite a spot for people that are looking for recovery or something to come to. It's a very open place. But one of the girls left and overdosed in prison, and that's even upsetting. That how do you overdose in prison? You'd think that they wouldn't be able to get drugs in there, but they can. Do you deal with prisons at all in what you do? I think you said that at the beginning.
So we have a county jail, and people are like, oh, that's cute. We have a 1,200 bed maximum security facility where we house anybody from jaywalkers, probation violations, to death row inmates. Our facility has a courtroom inside the facility. So we have court 24 hours, 7 days a week. People who are at Jackson Diagnostics who are scheduled to be executed are often there. Well, they are, if they have to have any other hearing after they're there, are always brought back down here. So, and I worked there. I worked there for 3 years in medical. It's probably my most favorite job that I've ever had, honestly. And I'm still very close with the medical director in that facility. She and I work very closely together to identify people who come in who are going to be at high risk of overdose, death on release, or who may be coming in. I look at the arrest log every day, and if there's someone on the list that I know is struggling with substance use disorder, especially alcohol or an opiate, I'll contact her and say, hey, that's my homie. I'm not sure what they told you in intake, but let's make real sure that we keep our eyes on them for the next several days so that they're not just laid up somewhere going through something by themselves. So we have a very close partnership with that.
Yeah. But, watching the things that happen to people in this whole thing is really, it's disheartening. And then it's heartening to know that there's some people out there like you and like us partnering together to try to solve this problem. And we want to stay open to this too, Jessie. That's why we're having you on and others, that while harm reduction is not what I do either, it's not my wheelhouse. I get it. And it's not that I wouldn't do it. I mean, I do. I put my seatbelt on, so I do harm reduction.
Right.
And I would give food to someone who was hungry so that they could stay alive in order to maybe make that decision the next day. We're for that. We're for medically aided help. Like, we're not against any of those kind of things, because it's all part of what might help somebody get better. And we know there's mental illness and there's disease and there's things that need it. And there's a whole package. And some people came to believe, Jessie, right off the street, hear our message, and they're good. Right. Some people come to us out of rehab and they got a jump start at a detox and they learn some stuff, and then they come to us and then they're good. And then some people come to us and they continue going to therapists and taking some medication and they're good. But we want to be open to all of that. And we want those people telling them to come to us too, not to say, right, all of those elements saying, hey, you're on this medical program, but you might also benefit from this program that they run, Came to Believe, the original program of the founders. So it's so important that we all work together and we stay very open and not, while I don't do what you do and you don't do what we do, we both need to do what we're doing, if that makes sense.
We're both in the business of helping people find their path to health and wellness, whatever that looks like for them. And it's like I tell my participants that tell me, well, they'll say, I'm not a real Jesus-y person, and that 12-step thing, whatever. Well, that's okay. But what will you lose to try it? Right. What will you lose to go check them out? If you don't like it, don't go back. But what if you do like it? What if it's the piece that you're missing that you've just never been exposed to, so you don't know? And that's usually, they're like, oh, all right, I'll go try it.
Mm-hmm. And that's our real wheelhouse. It's our big secret sauce, is that we do it the way the founders did it. So we chose, like you say, we could do different things and we could be all things to all people, but we're not. What we are is we give the 12 steps the way the founders did it. And what we do is as close as we can to what they did it. And I always analogize. Is that a word? Analogize, I guess.
It is today.
To like baseball. I always say, if you want to play baseball and be successful at it, you got to use the rules of baseball. Mm-hmm. You got to use a bat. You got to use the diamond lined out. And you got to do it the way they do it. Mm-hmm. But you don't have to play baseball if you don't want to. Mm-hmm. So it's like this. If you want to try AA, if you want to try the 12 steps, why not try them with the rules the founders had that had so much success? But we're not saying we're the only game in town. You can play football. You can go to rehab. You can go to medical. There's all sorts of things. And people find recovery in many different ways.
That's right.
They do. Even the founders of the big book said, our hat is off to anyone if you're able to find another way. And we know we're not the only way. But we do have a way that we do it, and it works when people come to us. And that's our mission, again, is just to be one of the options, like you said, on the list. Say, maybe this will work for you. It worked for these guys way back then. Maybe it'll work for you. Just do it, give it your all for a bit. Right. What do you got to lose?
nothing. And that's what I tell people. If you go and it doesn't work for you, you're in no worse position than you were in before you ever tried.
Right. And in our case, you've given up a weekend. That's all you've given up, right? We give it a weekend. If you leave, you're just the same as you were. But what if it works? What if it works? And you could be launched in a life that we call it this fourth dimension of existence. Jessie, let's talk a little bit about a couple of really specifics about addiction and things that you deal with and we deal with as well. And we want to talk about the element of shame and guilt this week, and maybe the stigma that addiction is in society, the stigma society has, and the stigma that the addict has on themselves, with their stigma. But let's start with, before we do it, and then I want to touch on the medical field's dysfunction in treating it, because we had a nice start to that discussion before we came on today. But let's talk about shame and guilt, and how do you see that being such a factor in people making a decision to change?
I mean, so if we look at this is me talking. If we look at drug use as a disorder, substance use disorder, people who have a substance use disorder, there's a medical component to that.
Right.
All right. If you have high blood pressure, if you have hypertension, if you start having let's just say you start having chest pain, you start having terrible headaches, you start having blurred vision, whatever, you're going to call a doctor. Probably, maybe, if you've got insurance, if you're privileged, that kind of stuff. You're not going to hesitate to pick up the phone and go, yo, dog, there's something wrong with me. I need some help. I need to be seen. Something's not right. If you have substance use disorder, if you're using substances, illicit substance or prescription substances, unregulated in an unprescribed way, why can't you pick up the phone and call and say the same thing? Why aren't you treated the same way? Why aren't you welcomed with open arms? Oh my goodness, yes, let's hurry up and get you an appointment rapidly, because we need to help you get this fixed so that you can go on with your life. Stigma and shame, that shuts it down. So many people don't even try because of what's already happened to them in the past, what's been said to them in the past, done to them in the past. I'm not calling anybody for help. The last time I called somebody for help, I was treated so badly. There's no way I'd set myself up for that again. And that's it. That's the end of the conversation. It's over.
And Jessie, like we were talking about before, I mean, many times high blood pressure and things like diabetes and many of the things that people call the doctors for are a result of things they're doing in their lifestyle. They're doing this. Some of it's genetic and medical. They can't help it. But some of it they make worse by doing it. Why doesn't it carry the same shame and guilt that someone says, I eat terribly, I do this, and they don't worry about telling their doctor. But yet when it's drugs or alcohol, they're worried about it.
But, well, it's not illegal to eat McDonald's fast food every day. It's not illegal to smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day.
Mm-hmm.
You can go buy beer at the store 7 days a week. No problem, long as you're 21. And you can do those things and still have a job. You can do those things and still interact with your family. But when we start, shooting dope, when we start smoking meth, when we start doing illicit drugs, when we start using illicit substances, you can't very well tell your supervisor at work, hey, I want to pick up an extra shift Sunday so that I can afford to buy a couple extra balls Monday for the week. You can't, you can't even have a conversation around what you're doing. So then you have to, it spirals. The lack of support that people have around substance use drives them into not communicating with others, lose their job, lose their families, and it just spirals out of control.
So it has so much to do with just awareness and education on the subject. So much, Jessie. We were given an opportunity this weekend, last weekend, to speak in front of a congregation of a church down in Missouri. Tim Doyle allowed us to speak in front of a congregation. And part of what we wanted to do was these kind of things is to break a stigma with the public too, between the public and the addict, to say, hey, these guys don't have a choice in a lot of cases, and they need help. And they need just help, like the guy with high blood pressure, the person with diabetes, the person with heart disease, or the person. And we've got to take that stigma and that shame, at least the stigma from the public standpoint. The shame is that the addict has it. That's another thing we've got to deal with, that shame and that guilt that they have. And but being able to go out in places like that and being able to educate more and more is something else we're doing too. And I know you're doing that too.
It's just about being able to show up for people when somebody comes to you and says, I'm having a problem, instead of drilling down on what they're identifying as the problem, if I were to come to you, Tom, and say, Tom, I'm having trouble with heroin. Instead of you saying, oh, Jessie, you've got to stop that. That's going to kill you. Blah, 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 blah. Just looking at me and saying, all right, what kind of support do you need? What kind of help do you, what does help look like for you, Jessie? You, not the drug. We don't care about the drug. The drug is, if I'm shooting heroin, I'm putting Band-Aid on a hemorrhage somewhere. Where am I hemorrhaging from? Where is Jessie hemorrhaging from? How can Tom help Jessie stop the bleed so that eventually she doesn't need Band-Aids anymore? That's what we've got to do. We've got to focus less on the substance and more on just the person. And when we do that, person first. The language that I teach is person first language. I don't label people. I know that verbiage and terminology is different, and in the 12 steps, because my husband, and he didn't mind me sharing this, my husband kicked a terrible cocaine habit using the 12-step program. It was in a great program. But addict, I don't refer to people as addicts. You refer to yourself as that if that's what you choose to do. But you're a person with substance use disorder. You're a person first. And when I help people get in the habit of seeing themselves as a person first, you're a person. The person. How do we fix the person? Person with a person. Makes a huge difference.
It makes such a huge difference. I'm glad you said it. I mean, we say recovered once you've been through it. For the same reason, I'm not a recovering person if I've come out of the hole and I'm living normal like everyone else without symptoms and not engaging. I can be recovered. But Jessie, it's a different place of life when you feel like you're in the rest of the world. Just like when you say, I'm a person with this disorder, I'm not identified as it. It's just something I have right now. I love that idea that even while you're in it, you'd say, no, I'm Tom with a substance use disorder with alcohol. I think that makes a lot of sense. And we tell people, now that you're recovered, if you've done what we've done and are experiencing what you experience off of it, you can be recovered. It's a state of mind, but it's a huge difference.
Language matters. More the internal language than anything. If I can, people that I work with on the street, when they call themselves junkies, we hear that all the time. Junkie, that's a junkie, that's a junkie, that's a junkie. Well, I mean, maybe that's what they are. Maybe that's and that's fine. But I see them as a person. And sometimes it's just that, I mean, you're still who you are doing what you're doing. We're not going to take that away from you.
Right.
But why you got to be a junkie though? What, I mean, if that's okay with you, then that's what you can call yourself. I see a person with a problem, because you've said you've got a problem. You got a terrible problem, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But you're still a person. And can we get back to that humanity?
It's so important. And I think that the person on that, starting right away to say to them, wait a minute, you're not an addict. You're a person first. You're a person. I love that. I'm really going to think about that in what we do when we reach out to people, even before they come to the program. We're great at defining recovered and moving people into that place. But I think we're a little shy on, we could start sooner by saying you're a person. That's starting that process sooner. It's separating who they are from what they're doing or what has them in bondage.
There's something else. Just while we're talking about words, this is something that I choose to do, and it's made a difference. I've got a cat screaming to get in. It's made a difference in how it's made a shift in my thoughts and in my beliefs, and I can really see the people that I get to love on. I can see a difference with them too. People talk about, and that y'all please just listen. I'm not trying to change the way you speak. This is me. When I hear people say clean and dirty, I'm clean. I'm okay. Okay, now this is just Jessie. Okay, please don't shoot the messenger. I'm clean because I took a bath. I'm dirty because I went out there and dug in the yard without my gloves on. What I say and what brings humanity back to my conversations when I'm dealing with someone with substance use disorder. Okay. I'm going to open the door in a minute. I say to them, when they say I'm whatever day's clean, first off, congratulations, hugs, high fives, flips, whatever we got to do. And then as the conversation rolls, I'll say, so you've been in abstinence how long? Or if they come to me and they say, Jessie, I effed up, I started using again, blah, 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 blah. I'll say, okay, wait a minute. You slipped back into active use when? For me, the clean and the dirty, those words to me they feel shameful to me as a human. And I realize different modalities accept different words and hear words differently. I have not come from a 12-step modality, everybody listening. So that's where my disconnect may be with some of the verbiage. Not saying it's wrong. But for me, when I look at someone and say, okay, so you started using again. So you've been in active use how long? Yeah, I'm You're dirty? You ain't took a bath lately? Yeah, I took a bath this morning. Oh. It shifts something in their head. It's back to person first. I don't know, man. I've seen a change since I've started working on my words. And I see people's faces light up. Dirty? Okay, but I mean, you're not dirty. Look at you. You're beautiful. But you're back in active use. Okay. So what would going back into abstinence look like for you? You can see them. You can see the wheels. I'm all bruised up. I promise. I'm good. You can see the wheels start turning, and you see their mind start shifting back to humanity.
When we talk about words being important, and I believe it, we could probably do better. Now, I think, Jessie, that dirty and clean. They don't talk that way in the big book in the alcohol. So those are kind of street words, but I've heard them all too, just like
Right.
you. But
Right.
what a
Let the cat in.
what a difference to begin in. You know, we're trying to correct people when they make these terms that identify them more than just describe what activity they're doing, right? And to bring that into human, if someone said to me, wait, well, you're not clean, you're not dirty, you're just using, it does even a little bit of element of hope that, wait a minute, it's just, maybe it is something that isn't so ingrained in me that I have no chance out of it, right? Because you're dirty, you have no way out of it. It's closer to having no way out of it than I just am using right now. I think
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to call somebody and tell them I'm dirty. Oh, Jessie,
right.
she's dirty, or yeah, you know, she, you know, or
Right.
clean, or that's for cars and laundry and.
It's for cars and right. And hopefully your car is never dirty.
No, my car is
Nope,
filthy.
no
I have to
dirty.
I drive my car all through the mud. My car looks. I wouldn't put nobody in my car if their life depended on
Yeah.
it right now.
So, I mean, Jessie, we went down off on a tangent, but it is totally part of shame and guilt, though. It comes from these words. It comes from how we're seeing ourselves. It comes how that we're described. It comes from how society sees us, and it's words that can do it. So I think one big step out of the shame and guilt is how we speak about ourselves and how we speak to them.
It is. It is. If I know that you're gonna think of me as dirty because I've gone back into active use, I don't want to tell you that.
Right.
Why would I want to tell you that?
Right. Right.
That's and that was part of the thing about working in the ER. You know, I mentioned I worked in the ER 17 years. One of the reasons I quit the ER was what we're talking about right here. I can't go to work every night and get in a fight with somebody being another healthcare provider, because you're talking to people like they're less than humans. Here comes so-and-so, ain't nothing but a junkie. No, you know, she's a grandma. She's a wife with 2 kids. She's not a junkie. She's a person that went through a terrible lost her mother, blah. She's a person with substance use disorder because she had some real bad shit happen in her life. And, you know, I think the day that about did it in for me was the day that I got into it with a fellow nurse, and she was going on and on about this person being a junkie and blah 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 blah. And I said, well, what's your label? I said, what's your label? What do you mean, what's my label? I said, well, look at you. I said, 5'2", 200 and something pounds, because you like to go to Starbucks and Hardee's. I said, what's your label? That was a bad day for me, and me most especially, because I'm the one that got written up.
Yeah.
But I made my point.
Yeah.
You know, you've got gout. That's what I told her. I said, you've got gout. You called out last week because your foot hurt because you got gout. What makes you any better than her?
It's a barrier we have to break down. It's a barrier that the medical community has to face. You know, Jessie, I know somebody who went in with liver failure, alcohol use liver failure. It was because of alcohol. As soon as they found out it was from alcohol, they're not on the transplant list, or they're low on the transplant list. They're become a second-class patient. I mean, maybe you've had some experience with this, which we should talk about a little bit, is when you go in and identify with a medical condition, acute condition like that comes from drugs like liver failure and they all of a sudden treat you differently than if you just went in and it was from cancer or something.
That's exactly right. You're at the top. You know, you're so sick and you've got this going on, and oh my goodness, and then a drug screen comes back positive for methamphetamines. all of a sudden this acute kidney failure that you're in that everybody was so upset about, got to get you a bed, we got to do this, we got to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You went from there to there because, oh, well, she did it to herself. He did it to himself. Why we're going to waste this resource on them? They're just going to go do it again.
But same as the person who goes to Hardee's and has sick, they're going to Hardee's again. We don't want to we'll get in trouble by going down this road. But all of these things, if they're going to go down the road that it's a lifestyle choice, which I think we're going to got to go down the road with it, with all this stuff. And so now who are we turning away when they come in, right, with lung cancer because they smoked? You did it to yourself.
We got to turn everybody away. You might as well shut down the whole healthcare. Shut down the whole healthcare system.
Oh my gosh.
And if you're not born with it, if you're not diagnosed with it by the age of 4, then it just don't even count no more, right?
Right. I mean, I got really upset with an organization that we went to talk to about this, and they said that their insurance doesn't cover addiction because it's a lifestyle choice, right? So if you have this type of insurance, they don't cover you. And I almost wanted to lose it in the meeting, but they kicked me under it because I was like, when I took my first drink of alcohol, I had no idea what it was going to do to me, Jessie. We were talking about this before. I didn't, and in 8th grade, I was 15 or 14 or 12. I don't know what I was, 13. I didn't know that it was going to flip a switch. I didn't know that, yes, there were underlying causes and conditions, but I had this physical element to it too. There's an element to this. And I took that drink and it turned a switch on, and that was it. I didn't have a choice until I had been brought to a place where I needed a power greater than myself. And for me, this program of that we worked, and it removed the symptoms, the underlying causes and conditions, and then allowed me to be free of it. But I absolutely didn't make a choice to do it. Who would choose to throw 30 years of their life away on purpose? Right?
My baby's out on these streets. We've talked about it. I talked about it before. I've got a daughter in active use. She chooses to be on the streets with her peers. She can be here. If she called right now, I'd hang up on you so fast it'd make your head spin, and I'd go get her and bring her home if that's what she wanted to do. That's not what she wants to do. Now, I digress to say that my child has not used an IV substance in 4 months. And she came to that on her own. She slowly started decreasing her use until she doesn't use anymore. But she still chooses to be out there because she says, Mama, if I'm not here, who's going to help them? Who's going to do what you do if I'm not here? So that's a whole nother thing. But my child, my baby is the most beautifully, magnificently wonderful creature I can ever imagine living. Me and her dad, we absolutely adore her. Schools, dance, and church. Oh, believe it or not, I'm, very involved in church. She didn't wake up one morning and say, I know what I'm going to be now, Mama. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to give up this whole life that we've worked so hard to build, where I'm so happy to go be a prostitute and shoot dope. No, she didn't. There's something inside her hemorrhaging. Now maybe she's figuring it out. I don't know. She will figure it out when she's ready to talk about it. I've set her up in front of so many people that she's got people she can go to. She doesn't have to come to me. She can. She talks to me. I talk about all the things. When she says, hey, Mama, I want to talk, I'm like, are you talking to your mama, or are you talking to Miss Jessie? Who are you talking to? Like, I need to know which hat to put on. But she didn't wake up and decide to do that. Something happened. There's a hemorrhage. And the dope became the Band-Aid. And as I get out in the community and speak to the people that I get to love on, it's the same story over and over. As they come into the ER when I was there, they would come in, and I would purposefully seek out those patients. I would look on the tracker if I had a room coming open and I would see their complaint. And I'd say, or if I knew them, I'd say, put that one in my room.
Mhm.
only because I knew they would get treated like a human. Put that one in my room. When they tell me they're hurting, they're hurting. They tell me they're sick, they're sick. I'm not pushing back on the why. It's a human, and that's how we're going to treat them. So you're right. You took that first drink of alcohol, and boom, you didn't choose. You choose to take the drink. Would you have done that had you known you had that switch inside you waiting to be flipped? Maybe, but maybe not. You didn't have a choice. You couldn't make an informed decision because you didn't know.
Same people with food and other things, right? They don't.
Exact same.
So, man, we just got to keep going, right, Jesse? You got to do what you're doing, and we got to do what we're doing. We've got to keep educating. We got to keep screaming from the top of the hilltop more and more. There's change that's needed in the medical community, in the psychological community, in the addiction treatment community, in our government, in our communities, in our churches. Awareness, and we've got to close these gaps between all these places so that those people that are hurting and suffering are funneled in, and they come right into the right place, and allow them every opportunity to get better. Also, Kelly LeBar, if she does one more comment, then she's required to come on Recovery Live now. I know. Do you know Kelly?
I know Kelly through Facebook.
Yeah, Kelly. We've been trying to get her on for a year.
And Kelly is pretty awesome. Yeah, we'll get her on here. We'll do it.
We're trying to get her on. So you want her on too. She's been commenting a lot. And it's like, okay, I think now it's time for Kelly to come on. So
Kelly, I'll come with you and hold your hand, honey. Let's
go.
go.
Hashtag Kelly. Everybody put hashtag Kelly.
Hashtag Kelly. Hashtag Kelly.
I'll
come hold, look at her. I'll come hold your hand, baby. Let's go. Let's go.
Wow, the shortest hour of the week. This was really short. It was such a great and important conversation, Jesse. I'm so happy that you are willing to come on and talk with us. Guys, give you that hashtag we covered one more time if you want to be on our giveaway. We're going to give that shirt away in a moment. Lisa will come and do our giveaway. Jesse, thanks so much. I wish you just a wonderful 4th of July weekend. You doing anything good? Get good fireworks down there in Albany, Georgia?
No, and it's supposed to rain.
No.
It's supposed to rain. This is my weekend off. And I'm not going to do anything, and it's going to be glorious.
I didn't do anything. A nothing weekend. That would be good. All right. Well, thanks very much, Jesse, for coming on. We will certainly have you on again. We got to keep this conversation going. And
thank y'all for having me and just for being open to hear what I have to say.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jesse. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye. All right. That's just awesome. We need to stay connected and Came to Believe Recovery. We know our lane, and we want that message to be open. And if we're not open, they won't be open to us. And we just want to be an option because we know that message can save thousands and thousands and thousands if that's the path you so choose. All right, Lisa, we're ready. Let's do our weekly giveaway. Got new music for us today. Love that. Andrew, he's our winner. Golf clap for Andrew. Awesome, Andrew. All right, if you put your address and your contact information in the private chat, Lisa will get a shirt out to you. Well, I thought today was so profound today. I learned a lot today too, and I've kind of checked myself. I've got to up my game a little bit in my words. I think I can learn today, and I think we can open a discussion about how we use our words, even within Came to Believe Recovery, and just check ourselves and make sure we're putting person first. I love that. Person first, guys. I hope everybody has a wonderful 4th of July weekend, a little rest. It's really the start of the summer. for us. And we'll see you next week on Recovery Dive D. Cuniff is going to be joining me from the UK, and we're going to be talking about some other very interesting subjects like this. I guess we're going to talk about the places where we can go get the drugs, where these clinics where addicts go, and so it's a safe drug use place. Obviously, you guys are getting the idea. I know nothing about it, but we're so open to all these new subjects. I will know all about it by next week because it's controversial. It's important. It's part of the conversation. We need to have it all. We need you guys to hear about it and weigh in so that we know we can do all we can to help everyone that needs to be free from bondage, to be #recovered, and we want to end addiction. So everybody have a great weekend. And we'll see you next week right here on Recovery Live at 9 Pacific, 11 Central, 12 Eastern, 5 in the UK. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.